everybody. And good afternoon, everyone out there in internet land. It's a nice, sunny, kind of breezy day here in downtown Binghamton, where I don't live because I live in Shenango Bridge, but the post office insists that I live in Binghamton, so that's what I say. We already walked the dog. It's very humid. I miss my friends in Colorado where there's no humidity, but you know, let's be thankful. Let's be thankful for what we've got, and I'm thankful today for this wonderful day. You're listening to and watching Smart Conversations with Yvonne DiVita, and my very special guest today is Sheila Rittenberg. And Sheila, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yvonne. Nice to be here.
So let me ask everybody a couple of things today. Are you good at baking? Would you consider yourself a baker, a good cook in the kitchen? I am not necessarily either of those two things, but I do dabble, and I bet you dabble also. Well, we're going to talk about someone who does more than dabble in cooking, baking, and Sheila's going to share with us something exciting that's really coming down the road that I found out about and just had to bring to my show. So Sheila, let me tell them before we get started a little bit about you, because this is really very important, everyone. Because Sheila Rittenberg is the executive producer of Marda's Gift, and that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Sheila's journey to Marda's Gift, but we're going to talk a lot about Marda's Gift. Years ago, Marda Stoliar began telling Sheila about her students and their special reasons for learning to bake. Sheila's internal creative tinderbox, I love that. Sheila, I love that. Her creative tinderbox was lit as she learned about Marda's work and impact in the world. And moved by the power of stories to change the world, Sheila knew this was something that had to be told. So throughout her career, Sheila worked for nonprofits, focusing on changing conditions for underserved people and related causes. She was the executive director of the Pediatric Dermatology Research Alliance, PEDRA. Is that how you say that, Sheila?
PEDRA.
PEDRA, okay, PEDRA, dedicated to cures for children's skin diseases, including and prior to PEDRA, Sheila worked in the health and medical research fields, dermatology, for 17 years in fundraising, advocacy, and as an executive director. And in her early career, she worked in public broadcasting, raising funds for documentary productions. Sheila started off her professional life as a community organizer and then a social planner, working with cities and regional governments to design health, education, and recreation services. In building her career, Sheila founded Healthy Change Works to help nonprofit organizations increase their impact. And as a consultant to patient and medical organizations, she strengthened their fundraising, strategic planning, and engagement outreach capabilities. Sheila was born in Montreal, Canada, and after living overseas, moved to Oregon, where she is today. And she lives with her husband, Dan, and a variety of children and their pup, Ren. So, I mean, it's here, loving family of children, stepchildren, and grandchildren. And I get that. I get that a lot. Understand that, Sheila. But let's really go right to the heart of things here, because everybody, I heard about Marda's Gift through Toby Bloomberg, and you all know that Toby's been on the show, and I talk about and support Toby and everything she does. And Toby and I go way back to the early days of blogging, and that would be like in the early 2000s, if you can think back that far. Maybe some of you weren't even born yet. I don't know, but Toby introduced me to Marda's Gift and to Sheila. So Sheila, idea of doing this documentary film is something that just my brain it's too hard for me to get my head around, because here I'm struggling with this little video I'm doing here, and you're talking about a documentary film. So tell us a little bit about how you got from where you used to be to Marda's Gift.
Okay. Well, first of all, I met Marda about 15 years ago. And
Wow.
so many years ago, and our friendship has grown wonderfully since that time.
Excellent.
And of course, as we get to know someone, you know, we learn their stories. And Marda shared with me lots of stories and situations and motivations for her students coming to her to learn to bake. And Marda teaches the art of European baking. She has a very small teaching kitchen off her normal kitchen in her home. And students come to her one at a time, and they will stay in our town of Bend, Oregon for some period of time and go to Marda's every day and learn and bake and be with her. And I started to hear these stories. I heard stories of Marda going to Pakistan to teach girls who were working on the streets as prostitutes. They had no skills or education.
Wow.
And an NGO in Pakistan found Marda and wanted to teach these girls some skills so they could be employed.
Right.
Well, that was pretty remarkable in and of itself.
I mean, how old was Marda then? Marda was like in her 50s or 60s.
Yeah, I think so. She is 80 now. She has taught about 300 students over many years. She started the teaching with people from Asia because she had been employed by the US Wheat Board to travel in Asia and teach people how to bake with flour, wheat flour, instead of rice flour. And she made a lot of connections there, and various people from Asia came to her to study further, and then she opened the International School of Baking. So I began to hear about these stories, and I heard about two sisters in Los Angeles, one a banker, and one a nurse whose lifelong dream had been to open a bakery together, and Marda worked with them.
Oh, man.
I heard another story of a young woman whose father died in a tragic car accident, and she and her mother had had these dreams around putting a business together, and it was kind of a healing and bonding opportunity for them after this accident to open a bakery, and they studied with Marda. And I heard many of these stories. And the thing about Marda is you don't just learn a recipe, you learn a culture of baking.
Wow.
And as you sit with her and study, she will ask you very tough questions, because many of these students wanted to go on and open their own bakeries for a zillion different reasons.
Sure.
As she would begin to ask these questions, these would-be bakers could not answer them. So Marda then goes on to help them design their bakeries. She will travel and help them open their bakeries. She will help them purchase equipment. You can walk into her kitchen at any time and see architectural drawings on her kitchen island, which she herself has produced.
Holy cow, she produced the drawings? Wow.
She's one of these creative virtuosos, I believe is the word. And you can imagine, you know, getting to know this woman, how all of this can strike you.
Well, just, yeah, just uplifting and inspiring.
Yes, and she winds up helping these people change their lives. They're typically changing lanes in life. They're looking for a second career, or they're looking for an alternative to help them have a more rewarding, productive life. We focus in the film on one of these students who is an emergency room physician, and he and his wife wanted to open a bakery so that their daughter, who has Down syndrome, would have a productive existence, and she does today. And this gentleman followed the same process with Marda. He found her, studied with her, they designed the bakery together, Marda helped him open it. And today it's actually helping to revitalize this town of 6,000 population in Wyoming.
Wow.
So I began to hear about all of this over the years and more. And I retired from my nonprofit career in November of 2019. And my dream at that point was to be involved with creativity, because I had done a lot of organizational work and was pretty burned out. So I had a couple of ideas, and this film was one. And given that I had worked for public broadcasting, as you mentioned, I had some contacts still in that world, and I began to put it together. And that's
so yeah, I'm just like, well, first of all, I mean, Marda sounds like an angel, just not just because she's so giving. It sounds like she's very giving, but because she doesn't really, from what I hear and what I feel when you talk about her and tell these stories, it isn't like she's looking for fame and fortune. It isn't like she's trying to, oh, I can do this, and how can I turn it into a profit? No, I mean, whatever the income is out of it, or if there isn't any, whatever it is. The truth is, when I heard about this, I was impressed because partly because Marda is 80 years old, and I am not far behind her, but the energy and the purpose and the inspiration, and then Sheila, meeting you, having then met you, and you're putting together this film, which I believe in 150%, 200%. It isn't just about the bakery, it's about the community. Tell us about that part.
Well, I think one of the core messages of the film is that here is this 180-year-old woman from one small town in Oregon.
Yep.
And by doing something she loves and having a real dedication to that, she is having a ripple effect around the world and having a really profound impact on how people live their lives. With what degree of happiness do we lead our lives? Are we afraid of taking a huge risk and leaving our job as an accountant, let's say, and doing something we love, which might be running a shop, running a bakery, what have you? And Marda is not doing it for fame and fortune. She is doing it for quality and excellence and her belief in these people. There is not, the word can't is not in Marda's vocabulary. And
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so in the case of this town in Wyoming, for example, this is a demonstration of the kind of ripple effect Marda has.
Okay.
This girl with Down syndrome is happy, employed, interacting with the community, working in the back of the bakery as well with prep. And she's okay. You know, I've met her and spent time with her, and she's a pretty happy girl.
And she has a marketable skill.
Right, right. The family has been redefined around this bakery. The physician was kind of burned out with medicine. He is still working 2 days a week as an ER doc, but the rest of the time is devoted to the bakery. And it's a place for community connection and interaction. And tourists and visitors love it. And importantly, people from surrounding rural areas or semi-rural areas, as far as a 4 or 5 hour drive, come to the bread doctor, as it's called, and they have long lists of orders from their neighbors and their family members, and they go into the bakery and you know, they bring back bags of these goods, but they drive quite a ways to do this.
So we're talking, the ripple effect was one of the things that was so not mind-boggling, was so impressive, because isn't that something that we all want to do? We want to have a legacy that will help leave something positive behind. And not only is Marda helping the people she teaches to do this baking, but then they go and they start a bakery, or they go and they teach others how to do it. And the ripple effect then becomes something really valuable, because Sheila, let's face it, we all as human beings and communities, when we get together, we want to break bread.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we do? We get together and we break bread.
Yeah. And I think, you know, just to continue that theme for a moment, excuse me, this town in Wyoming is revitalizing around this bakery. The town was kind of dying.
Wow.
So look at that. You know, here's an 80-year-old woman from Bend, Oregon, and she is having an effect on the future of this town in Wyoming through one person who wanted to study with her, and through the unlikely sort of area of baking. I mean, you wouldn't think of that, you know? So yes, it's about the breaking bread, the humanity in baking, I think, the humanity in the way Marda teaches, and how far she's willing to go to help students succeed. And that's her nature.
And so back to you a little bit, and how you wanted to do something creative.
Yes.
That you didn't want to just whatever, when my husband says nobody should ever retire, because if you retire, that's, I won't go into his version of it, but you don't retire from, you retire to, so to speak. And so you were looking at a creative, wanting to have a creative outlet, right? And so you decided on this film. Tell us about the film.
Well, the film is a documentary short. We are actually not sure at this point whether it will be 25 minutes or more like 12 to 15 minutes, a more typical short. We had an initial phase where the director, I pulled together a team of a director and a producer, and you know, we had to do our initial work of figuring out how we were going to treat the story, creating a website. We created a trailer and a number of other resources. We also affiliated with a 501c3 so that we had nonprofit status. And so that took some time to put all that kind of back end, as we say, in place. And now we are in fundraising to enable us to go into production of the film. And it will likely play on PBS. We will certainly have conversations with streaming outlets such as Netflix and Amazon,
Awesome.
etc.
Yeah, awesome.
And we will submit it to film festivals, of course.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a bunch of themes that kind of intertwine in this project. And you know, I've discovered some of them myself, even though I started the idea
Right.
as I've been working on it. And certainly one is how you're a woman and how you're 80 and how you're still productive and having a positive effect on others. So that's a theme about women and aging. There's another theme about small towns and what happens to them when something vibrant is created. There's another theme, of course, about the fact that there's really not a word disability. This is about abilities.
Yes.
And this young girl with Down syndrome is a shining example of that. And then there's this sort of overarching theme that people can change lanes in life and live more passionately, live in a more engaged way with what they actually do to earn money.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, the happiness is so, I just rail against so many people, and women especially, who they're in these dead-end jobs, let's say, or whatever it is, and they do it because they think they need to pay the bills or whatever that is. And then they get to a point where they can retire and it's time. And they don't want to just go home. They want to do something. And this really seems like a fantastic outlet for some women, especially because, I mean, a lot of women I know, they're just wonderful in the kitchen. My daughter is really great to cook and bake in the kitchen, and she's always trying new things. But to your point, what really strikes me, and one of the themes being that through the passions and the creativity of maybe one or two people, so yourself and Marda, and you bring together a team, a creative team, and now you can help others achieve something that is far reaching. Because again, we look at, this is the butterfly effect, right?
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it? You butterfly flaps its wings, and across the ocean, somebody's life has changed.
Yes. Yes, and I think the other aspect, Yvonne, is that we're also an all-woman team. So Toby's on our team. She is helping us with social media and digital marketing. Our director is a woman, our film director is a woman, and our producer is a woman. And you know, the way I looked at it then was even giving these, I would say, young women, middle-aged women, an opportunity to be lifted with this project and help me with it. You know, that's something too.
Yes.
Right. And so it was kind of this very positive, winning kind of image that formed in my life getting into this project, because it had all these tributaries, you know, and all of them were positive, were engaging, good women, were celebrating this older woman and all her virtues and talents. So it makes me feel great. And, you know, we're very hopeful and anticipate raising what we need in terms of funds to produce the film. But I have to say that the process and the journey itself has been very rewarding.
I hear it in your voice, and I feel that it's been rewarding for me, just the little bit that I've been able to be involved. And I can tell you that on an all-women team, it's a nurturing kind of a thing. And that's what baking is also, because it's
Yeah.
what we do. We bake, we cook. Again, it's the way we nurture the people that we love, and the people who mean a lot to us. And I
Yeah.
think I really someday would love to meet Marda. I can't wait for the film. I want to be able to share this in as many places and see how many other people I can get to help with this. But tell us a little bit about, I mean, what happens next? So let's fund this movie, this film,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
what?
Yes. Well, the Let's Fund This Film is
The big part.
a big part, exactly. And Toby is helping us build a community online
Yes.
of supporters and followers. We are reaching out to Marda's students over the years who obviously know her and want to support her. We may do a Kickstarter campaign or something along those lines, bring the public in for support. And once we raise the funds, we go right into production. I mean, we have footage from our phase 1, some footage. We'll need to augment that. We will need, our director will hire a production team, an editor, and so on. It will take, assuming we do about a 12, 15-minute film, it might take maybe 6-8 months to wrap it up in production. And then we go into post-production, and we start to shop it around to potential distributors like PBS, Netflix, film festivals, etc. And I think another part of this is the community engagement and conversations that can take place around this film. So in our Little Bend, Oregon, for example, I've had conversations already with our community college. They have a culinary institute. So, excuse me, there's an obvious dialogue that could take place, especially with people who go to study, to take classes at a community college. Very often they're trying to get out of one situation and into another. So this might be an inspiration, and this kind of dialogue would support these people.
Why not even go into high schools? Why not even talk to high school students?
Yeah.
My niece always wanted to bake, and she did go to school for that. And for a while she worked at a very successful and popular food chain as a baker and whatnot. And I just think that this is a real possibility for high school students that may not want to go on to become what everybody else thinks they should become.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
anybody is fair game.
Yeah. No, I think, again, this is kind of the nature of this project, is that it has these multi-themes, and it can touch people in different ways. And so the inspirational side of the film would be something very important for young people to see and talk about.
Absolutely.
Also just celebrating Marda here in Bend. I mean, she's been here for 40 years. She opened a bakery here, a fine European bakery here in the late 70s, when Bend was really just not just, but was a lumber town. So there's a lot there as well. And she is born in Oregon, and her ancestors were, pioneers in small towns in Oregon. Wow. So it's an Oregon story as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of heritage there. There's a lot of history.
Yes.
And that's another, you said, it's another overreaching, arching theme, because we don't all have that connection to our past. But wow, how great is that? Well, we're at the end of our time here today, and here's what I want you to do is tell people where should they go if they want to participate. And I will have, by the way, I'll have this all in links and words and written out and all that kind of stuff on the blog, on YouTube. You will be able to access it, everyone. But tell us right now where we can go.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have a website, mardafilm.com. You can read about the whole story and plug in where you like. And there's
I'm
a
going to write that down, mardafilm.com. Keep talking.
Right. There's a donate button on almost every page. So obviously that would make us very happy. Importantly, please help us build our social network. Marda's Gift Film is kind of our handle, if you will, for Instagram and Facebook. We have our Facebook and Instagram page. And the more people you can bring to those platforms, the better for us at the moment. Right. Right.
People to see that. So
And,
yeah, hashtag Marda's Gift Film and
right.
mardafilm.com.
Right.
Singular. Okay. Yes, I've been there and I will be sharing that. And Sheila, this project is still a few months out before we can see it.
Yes.
Do you have you said there was a bit of a trailer, is that on the website?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what, sorry?
On the website. Can people see it?
You know, we did not put it on the website because we were using it in a little bit of a different way initially, but I would like to do that now. So if you give us a tiny bit of time, we'll get that up there. You can see a lot of photographs and, you know, the story and background and so on. But I would like to make the trailer available there. It's just a little over 5 minutes, and it does really give you the feel of what we're doing.
It is excellent, everyone. And I'm going to put this up here one more time and hold it so people can see it. But of course, again, that will be linked in the description when I write the blog post and whatnot. Sheila, I'm just so enthusiastic and excited about this project. And I think maybe we'll touch base again in the fall and do it again and see where things stand.
Sure.
Would you be
well,
up?
I'd like to say, Yvonne, that we appreciate you and all the support and enthusiasm you're bringing to the project. We'd love to invite Marda to your show if that is something you would like. I know she would enjoy it. She's
Let's do that. Let's do you and Marda and me and Toby and just have a good time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. All right, everyone, we're going to do that. We're going to put that together, and I'm really excited now. I'm going to get to meet Marda, even though it's virtually. But hey, Oregon isn't. I mean, I have family out that way. Hey, and I can pop in. You never know. I just, you have a reason to do something, you do it. Correct. Exactly.
We would be happy to see you here.
Well, I thank you, Sheila, for being on the show today, and we will do this again with Marda and Toby, and I will be following and sharing and supporting.
Thank you so much, Yvonne, and thanks to anyone who is viewing this, and we appreciate you as well.
And that's the end of today's Smart Conversations with Yvonne DiVita and Sheila Rittenberg with Marda's Gift. If you haven't signed up for our YouTube channel, you should, because then you'll find out when we're going to do this again with Sheila, and I'm sure you want to know. That's the end for today.